I got some good Tyreek on the bench.
Hello, guys. Welcome back to Cordy. And yep, it happened again. So, yesterday, the Washington Mystics decided to do something very interesting with their ticket packages. They released their half-season ticket plan, and guess what team was missing from it? The Indiana Fever, the team with Caitlin Clark. Now, if this sounds familiar, that's because the Minnesota Lynx tried something similar earlier. Their idea was basically, if you want even a chance to get a Fever ticket, you need to buy a half-season package first. So the Mystics didn't go that far, but leaving the Fever out completely is still pretty wild. And the funny part? Look at who's connected to the Atlanta Dream ownership group. Somehow, it always comes back to the same teams doing this stuff. If you think this situation is crazy too, hit subscribe. We're pushing for 20K subscribers, and the support lately has been insane. Nearly 40 new subs yesterday. Thank you guys so much. But anyway, this is hilarious. This is absolutely hilarious. We now literally have a situation where the games are being moved to the big State Farm Arena. And by the way, the Atlanta Dreams Arena is, for lack of a better way of describing it, you might even call it a hazard. Honestly, hazard might be a good way of describing it. I mean, calling it a hazard might actually be a completely justifiable description of what the Atlanta Dreams Arena is like. The floor is weird. Everything about it is weird. Everything about the Atlanta Dream is weird. The scheduling conflict strikes again. Yay, we don't have to see the ugly gray court because of the scheduling conflict. And honestly, we have to talk about this again, because the whole situation around the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark has reached a point where it almost feels like a running joke across the league. And when I say joke, I mean the phrase scheduling conflict. Because at this point, scheduling conflict might as well be a nickname for Caitlin Clark. I'm not even exaggerating. Over the last couple of seasons, multiple teams have come out and said something like, due to a scheduling conflict, we've had to move this game. But when you actually look at which games were moved, it was always the same ones, the games against the Fever. Teams would suddenly announce that their arena wasn't available, or that they had to move the game to a larger venue or change the location entirely. And strangely enough, it was always the Fever games that ended up being moved into 20,000-seat arenas. And that's because everyone knows the reason. When Caitlin Clark shows up, the demand for tickets explodes. You had teams that normally play in arenas that hold around 4,000 or 5,000 people suddenly saying, actually, we're moving this game to a bigger arena. And those bigger arenas hold 18,000 or even 20,000 fans. Now, here's the crazy part. For some teams, those two games against the Fever accounted for around 25% of their total attendance for the entire season in 2024. Think about that for a second. 2 games, a quarter of their entire attendance. That's how big the Fever effect has been. Take the Atlanta Dream, for example. When they play their normal games, they might sell out a smaller venue with about 4,000 seats. And when that happens, most of those people are actual Dream fans, season ticket holders, local supporters. But when the Fever come to town, suddenly the game is moved to a 20,000-seat arena. And let's be honest about what happens next. You might have 4,000 actual Dream fans in the building, and the other 16,000 people are mostly Fever fans who came to watch Caitlin Clark. That's the reality. And it creates a really strange environment for the home team, because now you've got a home game where the majority of the crowd is cheering for the opponent. There were moments last season where it got so noticeable that you could hear MVP chants for opposing players in the Dream's own arena. When teams like the Las Vegas Aces came to town, fans were chanting MVP for A'ja Wilson, and it got awkward. I remember one of the Dream players, either Alicia Gray or Ryan Howard, talking about it after a game. She basically said, It feels horrible when your own home crowd is cheering louder for the rival team's star player. And that's the environment some of these teams are dealing with now. But here's where things get interesting, because the Dream aren't just any team. One of their minority owners is Renee Montgomery, a former WNBA player who has been very vocal about growing the game. So when the Dream started moving Fever games and calling it a scheduling conflict, people noticed the contradiction. Because let's be clear about something. Moving games to bigger arenas isn't the problem. In fact, it's actually smart business. The Chicago Sky have done it, the Dallas Wings have done it. Plenty of teams have looked at the demand for Fever games and said, okay, let's put this game in the biggest arena we can. And honestly, that makes perfect sense. If you know 20,000 people want to come to the game, why would you keep it in a building that only holds 5,000? The Sky even leaned into it with marketing. They scheduled big promotional nights and major arena games when the Fever were in town. That's smart. The Minnesota Lynx did something similar too. They play at the Target Center, which is a big NBA-sized arena, but they don't always open the upper levels, except when the Fever come to town. Then suddenly, the entire arena is open. Again, smart business. So nobody is saying teams shouldn't move Fever games to bigger arenas. They absolutely should. The problem is when teams pretend it's happening because of something else. That's where the scheduling conflict thing started to look a little ridiculous. Because last year, when the Dream moved games, the official explanation sounded like, due to a scheduling conflict, this game has been moved. But when fans looked at the schedule, they noticed something. The conflict only seemed to exist when the Fever was involved, just those games. And that's why people started joking that scheduling conflict was basically code for Caitlin Clark is coming to town. Now, fast forward to this season, the Dream are actually moving 5 games to the State Farm Arena, which is a huge difference compared to last year. And this time, the messaging is completely different. Instead of talking about scheduling conflict, the team is promoting the move as part of the unprecedented growth of women's basketball. Which, to be fair, is also true. Women's basketball is growing rapidly right now. The Dream's larger arena games this season include matchups against the Las Vegas Aces, the Fever, the Sky, and a few others. And those games will probably sell out extremely well. When the Aces come to town, you'll get fans who want to watch A'ja Wilson. When the Sky come to town, you'll get fans who want to see Angel Reese. And of course, when the Fever come to town, the demand goes through the roof again because of Caitlin Clark. So yes, those games will likely sell out. But the difference is that this year, the team is celebrating the bigger arenas instead of hiding behind the scheduling conflict explanation. And that's why people are pointing out the hypocrisy. Because if you can now say this is about the growth of women's sports, why wasn't that the message last year? Even if the bigger arenas were only being used for Fever games, you could still market it the exact same way. You could say, due to the growth of women's basketball, we're hosting games at a larger venue this season. That would make perfect sense. Because whether people like it or not, Caitlin Clark is part of that growth. She's a women's basketball player. She's bringing new fans to the league, and teams are benefiting from that financially. So pretending the arena change had nothing to do with her never really fooled anyone. And that's why the whole scheduling conflict narrative became such a meme among fans. Anyway, that's the situation right now. What do you guys think about it? Do you think teams should just be honest about why they're moving these games? Or do you think it's all just normal business? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.